I was just 22, I think, and it was either close this business or try to do something with it. And the business was on the verge of bankruptcy. Also, I realized that one of the key employees of the business, actually, who had access to all the finances, has stolen whatever funds the business has accumulated. So then the war hits, revenues fall, people are demoralized, they're not safe, people have personal tragedies. And it was a period where we had to really understand what we do to make this business survive. I understand that there's certain things I can do within the business, but the real issue is that I want to be doing something else. And that's when I realized that.
Today, I'm joined by Dana Pavlychko. Dana's story is one of extraordinary transformation and strategic reinvention. She spent 14 years building and leading a publishing company, Osnovy Publishing, Ukraine's most prestigious independent publishing house, which actually her mother founded in 1992. Under Dana's leadership, the company evolved, but then in 2024, after navigating through revolution, through war, and also personal burnout, Dana made a bold decision. She sold the business she had poured her heart into for over a decade. Now, this episode explores the courage it takes to let go of what you've built when you know it's time for both you and the business to flourish separately. We'll dive deep into Dana's transition from traditional publishing to impact investment at a foundation where she's designing innovative finance mechanism. And we'll discover how she's positioning herself in the creator economy through her new venture, Dana Pavlychko Academy, where she helps ambitious individuals transform. For professionals wondering when it's time to make a major pivot, entrepreneurs grappling with decisions to exit their businesses, or leaders looking to create meaningful impact while building sustainable ventures, this conversation offers masterclass level insights into strategic transformation, authentic leadership, and the art of reinvention. This is Business Unbound. Let's dive in. Quick moment of honesty. Business Unbound is brand new. We are in the early days of something that I genuinely believe in, a show dedicated to real conversations with forward-thinking business leaders and inspiring individuals who are having a real impact on this world. And that's where you come in. I need your help. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any podcast app, follow the show and leave a rating. It may sound simple, but it shows the algorithm that this content matters, and it directly impacts how many ambitious professionals like you discover these conversations. When you're helping me, you're not just supporting a show. Here's what you're really doing. You're saying that quality business conversations deserve a platform. You're saying substance matters for hype, and you're saying this mission is worth building. So if this resonates with you, help us reach others like you. Please subscribe, follow, share, whatever works for wherever you are. You're helping build something substantial from the ground up, and I genuinely appreciate it. So thank you. And now back to the show. Dana Pavlychko, welcome to Business Unbound.
Hi, Florian. I'm so excited to be here.
Dana, you come from an extraordinary literary family. Your grandfather was a renowned poet and politician, from what I know, and your mother was a literary critic who co-founded Osnovy Publishing, your company, in 1992. You eventually took that publishing company over. But growing up in this environment, what was your relationship with books and publishing from the get-go?
It's an interesting story because I never thought that this is something that I would do, right? So I grew up in a family that really was interested in ideas, in books, in society and politics, but I never thought, oh, there's this business route. Perhaps because, it was just, the 90s, and I was, somebody born right after the fall of the Soviet Union, basically. So this is not something that kind of I was thinking about or my family was thinking about. And, I was kind of really into, I'd say, ideas. And I actually thought that I will grow up and become a civil servant. And just by accident, I kind of fell into this business because my mother founded this business with my dad, and then when she passed away, the business went to her business partner. And when I came back to Ukraine after many years studying internationally and getting my bachelor's and master's in public policy, her former business partner basically said, "You know what? There's this business. It's in a really tough state. I'm kind of tired of it. I don't know what to do with it. Perhaps you want to do something with it." So I was just 22, I think, and it was either close this business or try to do something with it, having zero experience in anything to do with business, really, or books or accounting or anything.
And let's stick with this thought for a moment. You did study public policy at King's College in London. You were interested in politics. You wanted to possibly become a civil servant, but then this situation come up. Take us back to that moment, to Ukraine in 2020, 2010, I believe it was. What was the key reason that led you to take over Osnovy instead of, pursuing your political career?
As a young person, then I was quite romantic about going back to Ukraine and changing the country. And I came back and I thought, this is what I will do. At that time, it was not the best of times. We were at a time of Yanukovych government. For those who remember, he was a quite an unpleasant person in Ukraine's history, and he was kind of chased out after the Euromaidan revolution. So basically, when I was there, I realized there's no space for progressive people in the civil service, right? And it's not really the best time to go into politics because could be even quite dangerous. And because the societal situation was not really welcoming, I thought, why not start making books?
Interesting. And then you came back, you started making books. And when you took control of Osnovy in 2010, the company was struggling, sales had stagnated, and it was financially difficult. You were 22, 23 years old at the time and became the youngest book publisher in Ukraine. Walk us through that moment. What was it like inheriting this business and what did you do
Florin, I don't
next?
know if there's like data on this, but seeing the scenery of other publishers, I was certainly at that time really the youngest because it was really a market full of people who are much older and just doing things much differently. And the market was really developed. And yes, I joined the business. It was in a really tough state for many reasons. It had no digitalization. It had no really products that were necessary for that age. It had some stock from books that were published in 1991. So you can imagine there's stock of books that really you kind of have to pay for, as it turns out, because you have the stock, but nobody's going to buy these books. And also, I realized that one of the key employees of the business, actually, who had access to all the finances, has stolen whatever funds the business has accumulated. So all that I kind of had to deal with one by one, having yet again no experience, and also trying to create some new products. So it was really taking one step at a time in understanding, okay, how does the business work? How do accounts work? How does making a new book work, and how does sales work? And slowly but surely, we came out of this crisis. It was really, the business was on the verge of bankruptcy, and it took, I'd say, a couple of years to turn around, to have some new products, to have some fresh revenue coming in. And really, the next 10 years were a story of taking it step by step and navigating new crises that we had to navigate.
When you made that decision, did you did you know at the moment that the business was in a very difficult situation, that money was stolen? Did you know what you
No,
need
I
to?
did not. I did not, because I neither did I nor the former owner knew this. And, this might seem like a horror story, but this is really what happens often in small and medium-sized businesses where owners, for whichever reason, don't really keep track of certain things or think that somebody's going to manage finances for them. And when I realized, when I came in, started looking into things, and I realized that even then, having no experience, I thought that this is odd that this person has access to finances, and it's actually odd that we don't have access to these finances, I as an owner. And then obviously we realized that there's no funds to be had. And it was just a very good lesson to learn very early on in my journey of what it actually takes to manage finances and a team, and what it means to actually really run a business.
We will get back to the transformation journey in a moment. But before we do this, your personal story obviously continues far beyond this. So you did the transformation, you lived through the Euromaidan revolution, etc. And then 2022, after the war started, you flew to Germany with your family, 3 young children, your husband. How did these massive geopolitical shifts shape both your business strategy and also your personal perspective on leadership?
We actually drove to Germany because no planes were flying at that time, and it was just, a horrible day in my life, because I feared mostly for the, lives of my children, not for myself. And making sure that they're safe was my biggest priority. And it was this experience was life changing, because after that, I really value life, and I really understand what it takes to come out of a very tough situation, meaning leaving your life, having to build a new life in a new country, having to navigate, a new life for your kids, your partner. And my business was in a tough shape. So it was already in a quite a tough shape prior to the war, because I was burned out, and it's a creative business. It's a tough business internationally. Those who are in a creative industry know what that means. So then the war hits, revenues fall, people are demoralized, they're not safe, people have personal tragedies, and it was a period where we had to really understand what we do to make this business survive, and it survived prior to me selling the business.
Where did you find the courage to do all that? I mean, I can only imagine how it must be to go to a new country in the light of war, build your life from scratch, still have a business, still have employees that I guess expect you to make means ends, to pay salaries. Where did you find the courage and the energy to go through all of that?
As I do it now, you take one step at a time. There were 2 months right when the war began, which were dreadful. I had no energy. Things were kind of at a standstill. We weren't expected to really do much as a business, and we could kind of take a bit of a pause, even though, we had operating processes all the time, but I'd say the whole country was at a standstill. But then you realize that you have to get back to business. Like, you have partners, you have contractors, you have a team, you have projects, you have B2B projects, B2C sales, and you kind of have to understand that somebody has to take the be the grown up and take responsibilities for what has to be done. And also, it's actually easier to do something as opposed to just remove yourself from society and kind of not do anything. So after 2 months of a pause, of a really hard time, it was hard. It was very hard. I went back to trying to solve this, one step at a time, and to solve the business issues that we had, and to really figure out what is it that I want. And at the time, I realized that I understand that there's certain things I can do within the business, but the real issue is that I want to be doing something else. And that's when I realized that I have to sell the business. And that's really the most important goal for me. And this is something that I was focused on and I did. And it turned out to be the best decision for me and the business.
And I understand that you were focused on something else in addition to that. In 2023, you started your executive MBA at the University of Oxford while running your business, while being a mother of three, while thinking about, okay, should I sell? How do I do it? The executive MBA, can you walk us through what was that experience like and how did it change your thinking amidst all of the other things that were happening?
Oh man, it was the best decision. And well, because we've met, which is great. And it was a decision that was quite spontaneous. I sat down, it was I think 2022, and I kind of wrote out everything I want to do, be it a goal or a dream. I mean, it was chaotic, but there was a list. And on this list was doing an course, a program in the best university of the world. It just felt like something that I've always wanted to do. And also, it felt at that point, I didn't know how, but I just felt that it will help me solve my issue, my problems. I don't know. It will give me tools or inspiration. I just felt like this is something where I need to go. So I saw, there's this executive MBA in Oxford. Oxford's a great university. I realized that I could fly in because it's an executive MBA. You can work and have a family and just go into Oxford. It sounded really hard as well. 2 years, flying for 2 years. I didn't even understand how that's possible. But I applied, I got in, I made it work, and it was transformative because the people, the inspiration, the time to think, the new ideas, and it's not really even about the courses or the which are great, right? Or really having a grasp on everything to do with management. It is great, right? For people in this business world, but some things I only even understood post program, that it's just so much inspiration. It's so much of being around amazing people that it gives you the boost to dream, to create, to build, and to begin basically a new life.
What was one of the examples, like when you said, okay, some things only became clear to you during or after the program? What is an example?
I feel that, just a simple thing. After all these modules, right, of hanging out with incredible, like really the best people in the world, intellectually as people, navigating similar challenges, building their careers, building companies, organizations. I just feel like it gave me more confidence. I felt more confident, and it's something that is really, you need to do something sometime or be somewhere to feel the confidence in you, and that was transformative. And also, it gave me a time to explore. So post these 2 years, I realized, wow, I have ideas again. I want to create again. I want to build again. And this was really important for me because I had that drive. And after finishing the program, I feel okay. Now I'm in execution mode. And this is something that I didn't even think of when I started.
For our audience members, not everyone will have an executive MBA. Some may be thinking about pursuing one or even just a regular MBA if they are a little bit younger. What should they be thinking about before making that decision and going onto this journey?
Well, I'll begin with an executive MBA. I think executive MBA is a cool program because it's like an MBA, but it's for the more mature people. So you already have successes in your career, right? So you imagine you have done stuff, you have degrees, you've built maybe businesses, you have an interesting corporate career. This is a great way to meet amazing people, and you will meet these people for the rest of your lives. And you need these people to really widen your understanding of the world and yourself. And this is also an opportunity for you to push yourself to the next limit. So when this type of person hits a wall, this person needs inspiration, tools, network, people, access to just a different way to view business management to be able to make that jump. So I will definitely recommend this to people who are at that stage to look into an executive MBA.
And how about a regular MBA?
A regular MBA, I think is also good if you, but I'm a believer that if you go to a great university, it's really about the people because we live in an era of AI. What is what is the value of just knowledge? What kind of value does just knowledge have? I think it's really about the people, the network, the professors. I think this is where one should put their efforts in when choosing an MBA, basically.
Okay, so you did your executive MBA at the University of Oxford, and during this time you made the decision and you executed the decision to sell your publishing company. And I understand, Dana, that this decision to sell wasn't just financially. What other factors have contributed to making this and taking this leap?
I wanted to stop working in a business that is only centered around Ukraine. Even though we tried to do a lot of sales internationally and the business had English language books, it was just really tough to break into the international space. I also really didn't want to do anything to do with actual physical production. Physical production really kind of drained my soul after 14 years, and I wanted to be somewhere where there's no physical product, basically. And I wanted to also explore what else is out there for me, and you need to sometimes end something to start something new. And now I have a much more kind of easy outlook on things. I think things sometimes have a beginning and an end, and it's okay to pursue new things and end things that can be ended.
And how did the fact that Osnovy, well, wasn't just any publishing company, but that it was founded by a family member, by your mother, how did this fact influence your thinking?
It was actually influenced more people's thinking than mine. And this is actually a good story about for people who are maybe navigating transitions or are in a family business. When I went to for seek guidance about what to do, many people really stopped me. They said, "This is a legacy. You can leave this to your children," or how about there's a lot of advice about trying to find a manager to manage and me to go into the board. And a lot of advice around this. People felt sad for some reason, even if they had like no connection to the business. But then I really realized that I have my life to live. That's it, period. It's a wonderful business. The legacy actually lives on with the new owners. They make the legacy of the founders, of my mother, of my father as a really big part of the business. It's part of history. The business lives on. And I'm also there to pursue my life, right? And I think that in this really chaotic world of geopolitical change and AI, to reasonably think about, passing something on to my children, to me to some might seem really great and it can work. To me, it just seems a bit kind of odd because I don't know even what the world will look like when my children are older. And I don't want to put any pressure on them to take over a business in a country where I don't even live. And actually where I live is a big, big deal. I'm now a resident of Germany. I live in Germany. I have no understanding of the market in Ukraine. And it's the type of business where you need to be involved and understand what's happening, and you can't be removed.
So how's the business doing under its new ownership?
It's doing great. They are publishing, I think, 50 books. Published 50 titles this year, which is a lot. And they have a new team, and they're happy, and they're just doing great. They're doing great marketing, great design. It exceeded all my expectations, and I'm very proud and excited. And I think this is just a phenomenal case of how new owners can come in, take the best of what was there, and add what needs to be added, and it really works.
And you explained that eventually you had to make the decision to live your own life and continue with the things that you're passionate about and want for you personally. For our audience members who are entrepreneurs or executive, what's your advice for someone who, well, has built something successful but feels trapped by it? And when do you know that it's time to step away?
Think that you can't really tie your identity to your business or your career, right? So it's something that entrepreneurs do. They tie themselves fully to the business, and then they suffer because they are the business in their minds, and it's not healthy. So it's good to remove yourself and understand that you are many things, many things, and one of them is, let's say, a founder of said business. And this is a really healthy way, in a way where you can actually build, something with that business, and build your life successfully in a healthy way. So when a business gets to a certain stage, I think it's really important to try to remove yourself. And there are different stages, you can start delegating more. If you're at a certain revenue stage, you can bring in managers. It's important not to do this too soon. You can remove yourself to board level if that is possible. That's not always possible. It's not always possible in all businesses to bring in, let's say, a CEO realistically. It depends on the type of business, on the type of revenue the business is, the type of industry. And some business are lifestyle businesses, so that's tough to do. But also, there's always a possibility to step away and sell the business. And this is something that people should think about more often than not, especially when they're beginning an enterprise. Is this something that I will want to sell? Is this something that is really like a lifestyle business that might be difficult to sell if it's really tied to my personal brand? But selling is a way to change, because entrepreneurs love change. They love new ideas. And it's very normal to want to do something else.
Hmm. And well, what did you do, Dana? Like, how did you prepare your business for a life without you?
I tried to prepare a business for a life without me even prior to the war, because I was really focused on processes. So we had a lot of stuff that we did for many years to make sure the business has everything kind of in order. There's a way to, everything is in order. There's processes, there's policies, there's databases, there's the finances are in order. So when I realized that the time to sell is now, there were not that many things that had to be done. We had to kind of audit the rights. We had a lot of rights, like a book publishing or a creative business has a lot of rights. So I knew that this is something to consider even prior to the war. Either I was looking at bringing in an investor, or I was kind of toying with an idea of selling, but I wasn't really ready. And it's a lot of focusing on what is it that I'm selling, because it's hard to sell a business where everything is done by you or tied to you. But luckily, I was making sure that everything could be run without me. And as we see, it can successfully.
I think this is a common theme, and I noticed by means of my own example, when I sold my company, I remember having had similar discussions with the party that eventually decided buying it, and they were very curious to understand, what is my role in the business? Do I have an essential role? How does the business function without me? I think what you're saying are the exact points that someone should keep in mind, to have policies and procedures in place, to have employees knowing what they are doing so that a new owner can ideally step in seamlessly.
Yes, seamlessly, or at least in a short amount of time, they can get into all the processes. So whatever you are doing, even if you're not thinking about selling now, you need policies and processes, and everything has to run a certain way, orderly, so the business can grow. The business can't grow even to a state where it can be sold if there are no policies and processes. So this is really something I think people should think about.
Okay, and then you sold your publishing company and you moved into an I would say from the outset, entirely new field, venture philanthropy. Donna, what attracted you to this type of work?
It seems kind of new or odd maybe for me, but I was a person running a business that had impact. So it's a business with social impact. There's nothing more important than books. Okay, there's stuff more important than books, but books are very important, right? So I really understood the nature of running a social impact business. I had a lot of projects with nonprofits, with government agencies, with philanthropists in Ukraine. I started out, my first job was actually running a nonprofit foundation. So when I was in Germany already, I thought, okay, I want to try something new. I want to work with a great organization. I want to consider working in social impact. So I started reading about and researching social impact, venture philanthropy, and it really brought me to working first for a non-for-profit as a CEO in 22, 23. Then I started Oxford, and I was already very interested in impact investing, venture philanthropy, in impact measurement and management, because it seemed like these tools would be really beneficial for Ukraine. And then I had a small research project researching the impact ecosystem and impact investing ecosystem of Ukraine. I got a grant for it, and that really brought me to the foundation I work with right now as an advisor. And this foundation, Tokarev Foundation, is a Ukrainian venture philanthropic foundation that supports outstanding organizations in Ukraine that are, health tech, ed tech focused. And also we're working on creating an impact investing vehicle to invest in businesses in Ukraine and in Central and Eastern Europe, because I just feel, having been a business which lacks access to capital, that this is really important.
And could you perhaps help me out here with the terminology a little bit? I mean, I've heard about philanthropy, like maybe the more traditional aspects of philanthropy, and you've been mentioning venture philanthropy. What's the difference?
In very simple, plain language, when I say venture philanthropy, I mean it's a philanthropy that uses instruments from venture capital, or, maybe financial institutions for their work in impact, let's say. So as opposed of just giving out a grant, right? It looks to different ways of giving out this grant, measuring the success of this, of the impact of this grant. How do we choose who to support? What are the criterias? How do we measure what is success, for us? Because very often in classical philanthropy, there's not always a way to understand why something is done. For example, why giving is made, and does this giving actually generate any change? What does that actually do? And we're also focused on changing the system. So even if we do maybe small kind of interventions, we have our theory of change, and we're really focused on how does that tie into us, hopefully down the road, changing certain systems in Ukraine.
Okay, that makes sense. And before we dive into venture philanthropy in the context of Ukraine more detailedly, on an abstract level, can you walk us through an example how venture philanthropy would work? Like maybe there's an exemplary project that we can use to demonstrate how it functions.
It all depends on the organization, its size, how they approach things. I will just say, how we work, for example. When we approach on how to support a organization in our non-for-profit work, in our impact first work, and this is where we support outstanding organizations in Ukraine. So we have very clear criteria how we select the organization that we want to support. So it's very specific criteria. We also work in pilots. So, for example, we might do a small pilot with the organization. We measure the impact of this work. So we do impact measurement to understand what is the impact or what can be the impact of this project. And then if we see results, we can scale this project further.
And let's maybe think about venture philanthropy, especially in the context of Ukraine. I mean, after all, it is a war-torn country and the war is still going on, and it may be a lot more unpredictable what's happening in the operating environment as compared with a country where no war is happening at the moment. How do you manage that?
We have to think about also the future, for example, right? So there are really important humanitarian needs, but also there is space for other people, players, organizations to think about the future. So we are trying to also think about the future, about education, about health. And this is something that we're focused on. For example, this is why we really believe in impact investing, because we believe that Ukrainian businesses that have impact, that create impact, will be the businesses that will build a resilient Ukraine. And we can't wait until the end of the war. We don't know when that will happen. So this is why we need to do this work now. It's hard, it's tough, but we need to do this work.
And I think this is a very valid point. I see it that there's apparently a growing recognition that Ukraine's reconstruction can't rely solely on aid. It needs sustainable business models. It needs market-driven solutions. From your experience, Dana, like what types of social enterprises or impact businesses are actually thriving in Ukraine right now and have a competitive advantage?
Well, I would say that broadly, many businesses, even though the situation is absolutely awful, are thriving and working, and they keep building in Ukraine, and it's very inspirational. The level of service, products, amazing businesses, I mean, it's really one of a kind. I'm just so impressed with Ukrainian businesses of different types. And when we speak about social impact businesses or impact businesses or social enterprises, those also thrive. Some, for example, we have quite a number of really successful tech businesses, which are ed tech businesses. There's a growing number of health tech businesses that are growing. For example, we also support our flagship program, which is a health tech accelerator for health tech businesses in Ukraine. So we see quite a number of exciting health tech businesses from Ukraine. But having said this, businesses do require access to skills, to networks, to capital, and we need more businesses because they are the backbone of Ukraine's recovery. And as you said, that we need market-driven solutions. And even social enterprises, we need them to think like businesses first and foremost, because only that way they can survive.
And can you maybe walk us through a concrete example in the edtech space or in the health tech space, as you just mentioned? How does it work? I mean, where does your organization get the money from? What are the criteria, as you mentioned, to invest in something? And how do you measure impact and I guess also investment return in the end?
Yeah, we measuring investment return will be only relevant for the impact investing vehicle. So this is something that we are just building. We are just at the stage of fund design, and we've prepared for a very long time to even start designing an impact investing fund, which we're doing with our German partners, and are very excited about this. And this is something to be done, and we hope to roll this out in 2026. When we speak about grants, which we give to nonprofit organizations, we only measure impact. For example, amongst phenomenal organizations that we work with, there's a number of organizations. For example, one is called Save Ed, and they are a Ukrainian nonprofit that is focused on rebuilding education. So they both work on education reform, and they also help actually rebuild schools in very kind of complex areas near the front lines. So together with them, we have an amazing project, which is a DIY labs, STEM labs. And these labs are spaces where kids can go and practice various skills and have fun and do STEM experiments. And this is also a community space. So this is something that is done in conjunction with the local city council, the local community. So it's both a way for them to develop STEM skills, a way for them to actually spend time offline, because kids have to spend time underground because, there's bombings all the time. So they can actually be in a space together. And it's also a possibility for a community to come together. So this is really a flagship project for us that we as a donor are very excited about, and this is something that we are scaling because we see that this has impact. This improves the lives of these kids, of the community, and the impact is really colossal for something like this.
And I think the impact is very apparent in your example. Do these businesses have to return the grants?
These no. So this is our impact first work.
Mhm.
So nobody has to return anything. So this is just our philanthropic work, but we treat this not in a way where we just give out money without any criteria. We don't measure what this does, the issue we don't just want a STEM lab. We want this STEM lab to have an effect on the community. And if that has an effect on the community, we can scale this and see, can this have an effect on society? So that is the impact that we're talking about.
Can you say where the money is coming from for that?
Yes, because we are a privately run foundation. So we are founded by a Ukrainian tech entrepreneur, and he is an individual that funds the foundation. So this is also great in the sense that we have some capacity to support and to give out funding and to create new projects and to innovate. But we also are open to new partners who would like to support really the organizations that we support. So we are always looking for partners, co-partners, people who are organizations, people who are willing to kind of jump in with us and work on an exciting project like this.
Mhm. And you've mentioned that in the future there will likely be possibly a more profit-oriented variation of this venture philanthropy aspect. How would this then work?
It's going to be an impact investing fund. So
Impact investing.
it's going to be a separate institute, separate vehicle, separate organization that will invest in businesses, and it's a totally different kind of way to do things because we believe that there's obviously projects that you need to support that are impact first, and there's also humanitarian work that the organization does, and that's also important because there's some stuff that needs to be done today, and the impact is that these people live today. So that's also very important. But investing in businesses is something that is a totally different kind of line of work that we are doing. But this is something that many philanthropies, corporate philanthropies, private philanthropies are doing internationally. They're moving into a space where they have an arm which invests in businesses. And it's a spectrum, it could be, investments that seek a return, that are impact first. It really depends on the way these organizations craft a vehicle. But I think this really goes back to what you said, that not only in Ukraine, but I think internationally, we need solutions that are market driven. You can't just sometimes dole out money and expect the world to change. So the way development works for a very long time and aid, I think, just doesn't work.
So just that I understand it correctly, the entire idea of the more profit-focused venture arm of your foundation would then be, okay, the investment theme is impact, obviously, and impact in the Ukraine, but the fund also wants to see a return in the end. So typical alternative assets, so to speak, impact investing with the theme to invest in the Ukraine.
In Ukraine and Central and Eastern Europe. So we want
Okay.
to invest in Ukraine and Central and Eastern Europe. And we are obviously looking for investing in impact. And for us, impact would be just really broadly looking at health tech, right? Looking at ed tech, looking in AI solutions for good, supporting women founders, supporting veteran founders. This is how we see impact kind of in very simple terms.
Where do you see the biggest opportunities, let's say in the Ukraine, but then also in Central and Eastern Europe at the moment?
I think the biggest opportunities are really in tech solutions. So we are looking at more high growth businesses. So this is not something where we look at, social enterprises, which is kind of a different ball game. But we see that there's just such a dynamic tech ecosystem in Ukraine that there are founders creating health tech, ed tech solutions, and also solutions in terms of health tech that deal with mental health, right? Because the Ukraine has such a crisis that it creates solutions. So these solutions that come out of Ukraine could be solutions for the world.
I've seen Ukraine even before the war started, always as like a technology hub in Europe. I think from a Central European or Western European perspective, there was a cost advantage, right? Where companies said, okay, let's outsource, nearshore some work to countries such as, well, Poland is another example, but also Ukraine, where there's a lot of tech development happening and there's a lot of skilled personnel and of skilled labor that can work very effectively in the tech environment. From your perspective, to what extent would you say that this is still true today?
It's 100% true. The people are highly skilled. They're amazing professionals. It's just historically a very a place with phenomenal technical education. So the talent is top notch. Some of the businesses, tech businesses in Ukraine are just top notch. They're excellent. There's a lot of companies that really foster this brilliance and talent, and the marketing is really top notch from some of these businesses. So I think that it is a hub, even in a time of war. It is a hub. So that's remarkable.
So is Ukraine the Silicon Valley of Europe?
I think Silicon Valley is pushing it because Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley because it has, a number of outstanding universities and phenomenal access to capital, and all this is together, right? And just really being a melting pot. But is it a hub, and can you really build a business from Ukraine? Well, examples show you can.
And let's talk about your own ventures a little bit further. And I understand they are also technology driven and you use technology. Alongside your impact investing work, you've actually launched your own educational venture, your own academy. And I think it's fair to say that this puts you firmly in the creator economy. Dana, what drove you to build your own educational platform rather than working with existing institutions?
I was mentoring founders and executives kind of sporadically over the last few years, basically giving guidance to people who seeked my guidance, as many of them women, because I'm a woman, founders who were willing to, for example, change career tracks or sell a business. And I really enjoyed it. And I started looking into this kind of creator economy, education space for a while. And I just really found it really interesting, really curious. And also I saw that the world is really moving towards this creator economy. So I didn't really have any ideas. I didn't know what this can be. I was playing around with ideas. I had an idea of doing a educational solution ed tech business for impact, and started working on that. But right after the executive MBA, I said, you know what? I just want to run with these two ideas. One of them was an idea in the impact space, and one was doing a really a business focused on my personal brand and really tied to the Ukrainian language market. And it really took off because I put a lot of energy in it. I tested some hypotheses and realized that, wow, this is really going, and I love it. I love it. And now this is a full-fledged enterprise. I've already had um, almost 4,000 people graduate from various courses, short courses and longer courses, and it's mostly stuff on kind of confidence and networking and personal transformation. So stuff that I love and I've always loved because I've always read about it, studied it, did leadership courses. So these kind of EQ things, which people found ridiculous for a long time, I feel are more than ever important, especially in an era of AI, in the era of creator economy, the era of things changing. I think these things have a great value. I love them. And this is really what the business is about. It's about helping people navigate change, helping people build confidence, and really using really simple tools to change their life, get ahead, and find joy in every day.
What kind of tools?
Tools about, for example, self-management tools, meditation, doing personal reflection, managing your day, planning your year, goal setting, having an abundance mindset. This is something that is, for example, a simple tool. When you are in a mindset where you understand that you have a lot, you're grateful. In this mindset, you attract a lot. This is just a very simple tool that actually is really helpful for people. How to network, how to do small talk, what do you need to do to believe in yourself? For example, people think to believe in yourself, it kind of falls from the sky belief, but actually believing in yourself means doing something every day and having the cycle where I see results, I believe, I do more. So getting people to see it as a cycle of doing is also a tool that is quite simple and hard at the same time, but it works.
And I think the networking aspect can be quite important, especially in these times. I recently read an article that said, well, younger people find it more and more difficult to pick up the phone and just call someone or approach someone and have a conversation, that more and more is, well, chat-based, obviously. For our audience members, can you give away a nugget or two, your best tips on networking? What should they do?
Number one, always ask questions. When you ask questions, don't speak about yourself. Ask the other person as much as possible. Second of all, really listen. Even if that means you're not used to it, pretend you really listen. Because when a person sees that you're interested and you really listen, then they will remember and like you. Number three, go out and actually speak to people. If you're scared to do it because you haven't done it, just try talking to your local coffee shop, barista, and just practice, and then try to do it. And number four is have a social media presence. And even if you are a crazy introvert and you really are shy about speaking with people, I mean, this is your time. All you need to do is, post occasionally, have an interesting presence online, and you will actually be on top of mind for people.
And Dana, let me be maybe just slightly provoking here. The creator economy where you're now active in it, well, it feels at times quite saturated, especially in the coaching and personal development space. What makes your approach different?
This is, this is the best time to do it. It's not saturated. I think that this is the type of market where there's really no you are the niche of you, and it might seem like there's competition, but there's no competition because people seek people, and whatever you have to say will be important for somebody if you treat this as a serious business, because people think that the creator economy is just, making reels or, doing posts. No, it's a serious endeavor which has kind of ways of working. But if you genuinely share your perspectives, if you are valuable for people, if you help people, if you are genuinely yourself, and do it systematically, people will flock to you because they will want specifically your perspective. And also, for some people, hearing it from Deepak Chopra or Alex Hormozy seems really far removed. They can't even understand how to get to that level. So if you can share nuggets or tidbits or instruments with somebody and they feel that they can understand how to get to your level, this is great because then they will want your specific story. And I think really there's still so much space in the creator economy that if you're on the fence, start today. And I think this is really what will be important in an era of AI. Everybody's saying it. So I'm just listening to smart people who are saying that you have to focus on just this, and this is what's important in the new era. And I really truly believe that the time is now.
Who are these smart people?
I think everybody is really, I think everybody who is speaking about what will happen with AI, I think, tech leaders from the Silicon Valley, people who I love in the social media space, like Gary Vee, who kind of inspired me to even do this to a certain extent. And he spoke about all this for a very long time. And I think he just really tries to position this topic for people that there's social media basically. And if you are somebody who has an idea or a project or a community or a message, this is where it's at.
And I would tend to say that the success that you've had so far definitely proves you right. If I saw it correctly, you posted the other day that you now have over 75,000 followers across social media platforms. How long did it
Yeah,
take you
maybe
to build
even
that?
more.
Maybe even more.
Less than I think it took me 10 months to get to this spot, and I am just very systematic. There's no recipe, there's no magic pill. If you are on this journey, it's really doing a lot every day. So if you are just a solo person, you can choose one platform. I think that now with all the AI tools, there's a way to really schedule stuff and just use one piece of content for all. For example, I just kind of write everything in bunches, and I'm just very fast at it at this point. I don't overthink it. And I think having had writing skills from my previous business, because I always, played with copy and did a lot of marketing copy in the previous business, is just you have to write. It's all about writing. So it's really about being systematic, and the fact that I could post bad, good, ugly almost every day depending on the platform is really where it took me. And if you do a lot, you can actually see what works, what doesn't work faster, and you can improve faster, because you just test. Imagine this as a huge testing ground where you keep testing. And even if you put out a piece of content and it's awful, nobody's going to remember it. I mean, who gives a...
I've been trying to do this myself on LinkedIn, trying to post at least once a week, and I think it's
I love
true
it.
what you're saying, that it's about consistency and getting your specific audience used to you being there and you being you. For our audience, can you share, or can you explain how your system works. How does a typical Dana Pavlychko week look like?
I love that my every week is I can repeat every week. I think it's very important for success to have space for experiments, to have space for creativity. I schedule this space, and it's a scheduled creative experiment space, and I love to leave some room for, let's say, creativity. But overall, I know that every week I need to do some ops tasks, some meetings, some deep work. So it's very important. I have my exercise, my rituals, and I focus, for example, if you speak about content, right? So this is something that freaks people out, is I have days where I film all my content. So I have days where I film 20 reels in 3 hours. And I have days where I spend 2 hours preparing these reels. And if I need to, for example, post something, it takes me maybe 30 minutes to post, to like create a new text, because I just know that you need to be fast, and it's, better is the enemy of good in my case. And I'm somebody who has 3 kids, so I don't have a lot of time. And I also, all I do is work and spend time with the family. This is my life. I don't go out and do kind of other things. So I'm just very focused. If you're very focused, then you'll do what needs to be done. And I love doing this. I can't imagine doing anything else.
How do you manage to, well, still stay authentic and true to yourself?
You listen, some people have this, they are just authentic, they put on a camera and it just flows. There are those examples for sure. For the rest of us, you have to practice. Authenticity comes with practice. You have to do 100 hours of video for the authentic you to come out in the last hour. This is just it. Barack Obama wasn't a good speaker. It took him a lot of practice to become a good speaker, And it's just an example. Like, look at his speeches from, back in the day. It's practice. So when you are you, when you practice being you, when you practice writing, when you practice speaking, this is why consistency matters. When you did this repetitively for, let's say, 6 months, you just see, okay, this I love. This is me. This is my voice. This is how I speak. This is easier. This is not. This is my angle. And then you just go with it. Because yet again, in the era of AI, where we'll have a lot of AI stuff, people want to see a real person. So people have to be them, whatever that is. This is the era of like authenticity. I mean, it's a bit kind of, the term is, but that is it. People want to see authentic people.
And I feel a little bit of what I'm going to ask you next already came through, but what's your really your most contrarian view about the creator economy?
I love it. I love the creator economy. I don't even think I have a contrarian view. I love the creator economy. I love online education. I really don't understand a lot of the hate about online education. It's just there's bad stuff everywhere. You can get a bad plumber, a good plumber. I just think the space is great. It's fun, it's dynamic, and I get a lot of benefit from it. I'm a consumer of some great, creator work, and it gives me energy, it gives me tools. So I'm all for it. Do you have a contrarian view on the creator economy?
On the creator economy, well, I'm getting just started to explore this field a little bit further. I had my own company, and I think it would somewhere possibly be in the creator economy. It was an online education business. It was very specific to a certain professional niche. And well, we didn't initially produce our content for YouTube, for example. They were online courses, but eventually we just started publishing our course videos on YouTube as a second channel. And well, I couldn't believe it, but people actually watched our videos, right? It took
Yeah,
time, and took repeating. And
yeah.
the more we posted, the more viewers we got, and the more people subscribed to our channel. It was a side thing for us, but we collected a couple of thousand subscribers just from posting materials that we already had. I believe for us, it was a good idea to be in different places, right? The content was good. It was high quality. So why not also put it onto YouTube to allow more people to find you, to engage with you, to take away learnings and to also engage with what you have to provide.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
And Dana, I mean, you're building again. You're building your academy and your personal brand. Let's make this very practical for our audience. So if someone is listening and, well, running a family business like you used to in the past, or building a company, and maybe they are feeling burned out or stuck, what's the first thing that they should do? And not talking about a 12-month plan here, like something very concrete that they can do this week to get clarity.
Think that, listen, I'll have a two-part reply. One is you have to take responsibility for your life. This is something that we do in my flagship kind of program. Number one is you have to be honest with yourself. So if you're burnt out, but you're not treating yourself well, you hate what you're doing, you are not being honest, you're not firing the person you want to fire, you're not changing your schedule the way you're supposed to schedule. You know you need to grow personally, but you're not doing it because you're busy. So you are your own fault. Just hashtag real talk. So number thing you have to do is take responsibility for your life. That's it. Nobody will come to save you. Nobody will come to help you, and things will only get worse. So if you're already feeling down, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to treat yourself well, be responsible, and move on. Move on to understanding what needs to be done. And, it's a journey. It's a journey, but it starts with this. And the second thing I want to say, because I work a lot with founders and executives, guys, focus on marketing. If you're not on social media, I mean, what are you even doing? This is something that I've realized that is just key. People have sometimes come to me and they're struggling in their business, but I just understand that they're not doing this part. So do this part. It's important. This is it.
Well, it sounds surprisingly simple when you say it, but I would be curious to understand in your life so far, and there was a lot of transition and happening, and you underwent a lot of transformative moments. What was a time of failure for you where you said, okay, this really didn't go well?
Oh, stuff in my previous business because I wasn't honest with myself. I needed to stop certain projects. I didn't have the balls to do it. I thought it's just going to happen by its own. A lot of money wasted. A lot of money wasted just went down the drain on stuff that I, in my heart, knew that was a financial it's just wrong. And there were numerous of these decisions that I did, that were just financially unsound. And also a lot of money was wasted on stuff that shouldn't have been done. And also even, I started right before the war, a a bookshop. I actually opened a wine bar and bookshop that worked for 2 months before the war. And I realized it is just the dumbest thing I've ever done. I hated it. It looked pretty, but it was just awful. And it was just so much effort for, well, we closed it and sold it. So all is well, but it was just a lot of stuff. And also it was after that, I just really tied things to myself. I thought I'm a failure, but I'm not a failure. People make mistakes. People do dumb stuff because they lack skills or energy. So they lack a certain, you need to be in a certain state or you need to have certain skills. So sometimes we have neither the skills nor the state, and it happens, and you need to move on because this is just the game. This is the business game, right?
Well, I remember myself, one of the dumb things that I have done, where I invested money in something that I knew in my heart right from the
Yeah.
get-go, it definitely wasn't worth it, was opening a subsidiary in Hong Kong. from our educational company,
Yeah.
right? And I was
Yeah.
talking to someone and they were in Hong Kong and they said, oh yeah, it's this great market. You can do a lot of business here. I was like, yeah, great, let's do it. Oh yeah, but you have to open a local legal entity for this. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And well, I tend to be a doer. So I went and did.
Yes.
Turned out to be the dumbest thing ever. We never really did anything with it. Then it
Yeah.
was just an
Yeah.
administrative nightmare to close down the company.
Yeah. Oh my god. But this is a good story, because this is something that it's important to remember, and sometimes I forget. Focus on what's at hand. Do this. Some good ideas can arise. Are they really phenomenal? Mostly not. And also, really, it's important to listen to ourselves. So this is great. But you have to fail to know what that means, right?
And I would still tend to argue that experimenting is essential in business. And like even these days, I do spend money on business experiments and projects where I'm not sure if it works. I feel it's important to move and to adopt and to, pivot your business model into something successful. From your experience, when do you think an experiment is worth taking?
I think experiments have to be, because actually in Oxford we had a great kind of class, a workshop on innovation. And I think innovation should be done in a constructive kind of way, in a pipeline where, for example, you have projects that you think are worth kind of looking into. And you can, if the projects, for example, at their simplest, lowest, can prove traction, this is something that can be, looked into. But it has to be done in a very fast and easy fashion where you can test and see, okay, this can actually, like, let's say, bring in revenue, right? So this way we can actually look into it. And this is a way to experiment where it doesn't take away from what's at stake, what you're doing. And also, it's important to understand, are you even at the stage of experiments, because sometimes, and even this is where I'm at a point where we really have to focus on the business, and it's just a lot of the same stuff, doing the same stuff much better, basically, as opposed to doing something different or new.
I have another question that I want to ask you. If you look at the next generation of leaders, let's say people in their 20s, their early 30s, mid 30s, like we are, or people who are entering the workforce right now at this point, what advantages do they and do we have that, well, the older generation didn't? And what critical skills might they be missing?
I think creative, kind of this creative thinking, empathy, um, using tech tools, creator economy tools, AI. I think this is everything, something that we can really use, that the older generation is just not really kind of willing to do. I mean, some are, but a lot of people are kind of on the fence, or is kind of thinking, oh, what's this TikTok and these kids dancing? And they're just not understanding that this is like marketing. People are like on TikTok or whatever the new thing is. And I think being on top of it and having an open mind is what will keep us relevant.
And for, well, our generation and the people younger than we are, what are we missing from the generation that's further ahead?
I don't think we're missing anything, to tell you the truth. I think we are, I think every generation is just more exciting, is just different, and I'm not a skeptic, how, oh, the older generation did this and the younger generation is different. I'm more kind of positive on this. I'm excited about the kids, really. Like, they're really into new things. They're really dynamic. I just wonder what they will bring to the world, especially in this era.
Well, honestly, I wonder the same sometimes. My wife is pregnant at the moment, and we will have our first child sometime next year. And this will be the first generation that's natively growing up with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I'm honestly really excited to see what they are doing, how they are doing, how they interact with technology. It's going to be very exciting.
It's very exciting, and it's something to think about, and something I think about now for my kids, what I need to do to support them in this era.
What do you do?
Well, we're now focusing, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong, it's just something that we're doing, is really a lot on making sure the kids are outside a lot, and the fact that they can draw and paint and practice various kinds of skills with their hands and build and do sports, because I think that this is what's going to be really in the future. They're not going to be, what's the, I don't, they're not on they don't have phones, they don't have gadgets, they don't have iPads, and it's really, I'm trying to get them to be outside and creative for as much as possible. They're still quite young, and I think this is really important for their development. This creativity, empathy is something that is important for this new era.
Dana, let's start wrapping up our interview for today. And I'm curious to hear from you. What or who is inspiring you right now?
I love a whole tons of stuff, so I'm really inspired by art and books and people who are really free, right? So I really love anything that is free thinking and light and just really different. So I try to have like a really eclectic array of interests and tastes, and this is really something that kind of drives my curiosity. And I really love entrepreneurs. I love to follow, what business people are doing, and anything new and exciting in business, I love.
And is there something in particular that you're paying a lot of attention to right now that others may want to think paying attention to as well?
Just off the top of my head, I'm really kind of into health. So I'm kind of obsessed about, what I can do to improve my health and longevity. So I really am kind of excited about, Brian Johnson and what he's doing. He's this tech guy who's basically building the Don't Die movement, for those of you who don't know. And he's quite eccentric, but I love it because he's really taking this kind of idea of not even living long or not dying, of just like, what are we putting in our bodies? How are we living? Why are we suffering, instead of just taking care of ourselves? So I like that idea. It's contrarian, and it's just really, it excites me.
From everything that we've discussed today, if our listeners should remember just one thing, one insight, one way of thinking differently, or one action that they should take today, what would you want that to be?
Take responsibility for your lives. Take one step at a time. Nobody's going to do it. You have to do it for yourself. And if you're in, the space where you're building something, I mean, get on social media. And if you want to get into creator economy, do it.
Dana, thank you for this conversation.
Thank you.